you'd go to those press conferences and stuff, and people would be asking questions. They'd be jumping up and trying to get the coach's attention at these things. And there was this one tall, white-haired guy who kind of sat in the back of the room and didn't really ask many questions. But at the end of every press session, whoever was being interviewed would walk over and talk to him. And it was like he had his own private press conference afterwards. And I come to find out that was Les Timms.
Get indoors that nobody else could get into. All the head coaches and everything else in football and basketball always saw Les. Even when we were in the press box, the great sports writers, they would always come over and ask Les what was happening, and it was always wanting to know how his family was doing.
You know, when somebody wants to make a comment about the news now, they go on a website and they type something in. Well, a long time ago, there were 5 or 6 people in the state who had an opportunity to make a comment on something. To have someone who the coaches felt was fair and straightforward and would give them a good hearing was important, because not all those guys did.
One of the funniest stories that probably had a big bearing on his writing had to do with Frank Howard at Clemson. And Coach Howard asked him if he would like to go up to the Clemson-Maryland game. Clemson played awful. It was a terrible game. It was a beautiful day. But anyway, they lost in this and all that. And said, but the band performed graciously and beautifully. So anyway, Leslie went over to Clemson the next week, happened to be over there. And so Coach Howard motions to him, "Hey Les, come over here." He said, "I need to talk to you." And Leslie said, "What about?" He said, "Well, one thing you need to know is you don't smart mouth my team, particularly when I'm paying for your ticket." And Leslie said he learned a valuable lesson from that not to put his opinion above the facts, that this was something that was very, very important. And so that was what he strove toward, doing that, and reporting the facts and not his opinion.
During his time, Title IX for women's sports became a reality. And up until that time, girls' sports, women's sports, they were kind of an afterthought. I remember one time he walked up to me and he said, "How come you're not covering more of the girls' stuff?" And I said, it's not that good, not that exciting. And he said, "Well, they work every bit as hard as the boys do. You really ought to consider doing that."
He first started pushing women's ball and sports in the state of South Carolina when nobody else did that. And of course, his daughter was a great golf player at Furman, went on to play in the LPG.
I know he was Sports Writer of the Year many times, and probably should have won it more often than he did. I know he was the go-to guy for Sports Illustrated for a long time in the state.
Even after he went into another field as managing director of the Spartanburg Herald-Journal, his staff that he left behind, almost all of them became the South Carolina Sports Writer of the Year, and they were awarded that great honor, and that was because of the great work that Les did to prepare them after he retired.